Denise Lowell. I am the president of Just Ask, and I am thankful that you all could join us for our seventh annual Aphasia conference, Turning the Page on Aphasia. It was so great to have this in Zoom format because I can see people here across the country and around the world. I want to first say thank you to our amazing board members that make this happen. I could not do this alone. I want to give some shout outs to Pam DeMello, our secretary, who is behind the scenes helping me with chat and all this, was it chat blast and all that stuff. Thank you for making it magic. We have Ken Lowell, my president, my husband, and my backbone that makes this all possible and being able to pick me up when I'm having a tough day and don't think I can do it anymore. So thank you, Ken, for all. And I'd like to thank Kate Moses, our board director, of helping us with all the speech pathologists, tools and tips, and running our Monday night groups. Thank you for joining our team, Kate, and thank you. Thank you. It just doesn't seem to be enough. I want to let people know, I want to give a special thank you to URI and Risha for collaborating together this year to provide CEUs for our speech pathologists. And we will also be providing certificates of completion. Want to give everybody an idea of what Just Ask has been doing in the past year. We have been providing providing resources and support through our website. We continue to provide our Aphasia social network group in Zoom format on Mondays, and really proud of the next step. We've been able to provide our in-place location in Johnston, Rhode Island, for people to come and get resources and to meet with others with aphasia. And we've been running 6-week programs such as book clubs, technology, and currently working with URI students for the Aphasia Social Network group, which we play games, we talk, and it's been really amazing to kind of do a in-person group of our Monday night. And continuing with all the growth we've been doing, we always think it's still not enough. So one of our big plans we have for 2026 is to hold a camp in New England. So stay tuned for that. And if you want more information about Just Ask, resources, education, and support, please check out our website. That's also a place to donate, give your time, and continuing to support what Just Ask does so that we can provide all of those care partners, professionals, and us with aphasia. I think that's enough. I'm going to turn it over to Kate, who will be introducing all our guest speakers. And thank you, guest speakers, for giving up your time and education to share this with us all.
Yes, thank you, Denise. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday morning. I hope you have your coffee and maybe your phone or a technology device nearby, because you're going to learn out some really cool tips today from Bryn and Brooke. Before I introduce that dynamic duo, I wanted to let any clinicians here know that Mary Jo has put a link and some guidelines in the chat for those of you who are RISHA or MISHA members. Please complete the form at the beginning of the session, and you can check out the slides, the link to the slides for directions about how to obtain CEUs for today's session. And then you need to stay through the entire session, and there will be a link at the end as well. So for those of you who are looking to earn some professional development credit, that will be there for you. Continue to check the chat. This morning, we have Brooke Lang and Bryn Bowles who are kicking off our Aphasia conference today. Brooke Lang is a certified speech language pathologist, and she works in the Pittsburgh area, specializing in the treatment of aphasia and apraxia of speech. Previously, she worked at the VA Pittsburgh healthcare system, providing intensive therapy through the Pirate program, as well as working as a part-time research assistant. Now she provides speech therapy services online through her private practice, Integrative Reconnective Aphasia Therapy. And she also serves as an affiliate liaison for the National Aphasia Association. She co-hosts the monthly Technology and Supports for Aphasia group through the NAA with Bryn. And our other speaker, Bryn Bowles, is an aneurysm survivor and aphasia advocate. Previously, Bryn was working as a critical care nurse in Anchorage, Alaska, when she experienced an AVM while out for a jog that resulted in hemiplegia, aphasia, and apraxia of speech. Now she's dedicating her time on her recovery to helping others. And Bryn has embraced her new role as an aphasia advocate as she hosts several online groups. She serves as a peer ally through the National Aphasia Synergy Peer Befriending Program, a peer mentor through the NAA, and also co-hosts the Technology and Supports for Aphasia group through the NAA with Brooke. Bryn creates and shares videos about technology, tips, and all things aphasia that is hosted at Bryn's Corner, which is through the Integrative Reconnective Aphasia Therapy website. So we are so excited to have Brooke and Bryn here today, and we can't wait to learn lots from you both. I'm going to turn it over to you gals.
Okay, well, thanks for those introductions. And Bryn and I are really excited to be kicking off this awesome event. We hope you learned something today. And, Bryn and I are always available if you guys have questions, even after today's presentation. So let's go ahead and get it started. I'm going to share my PowerPoint. Excuse me, and I apologize. I have a little bit of something going on, but we are going to power through. I just hope that my voice doesn't drive you crazy here by the end. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to share a little bit about just reading challenges in general, but we're also going to be talking about a lot of the reading supports that are out there for people with aphasia. So some of the things we'll be discussing, like I said, what are those reading challenges that we have when we have aphasia? What are some tasks to actually help improve reading? These are things that, we'll talk about that are more of a restorative approach. Then we're going to talk about some things that are actually going to help support your reading. They may not make your reading better, but they support reading and allow you to use tools to supplement the challenges. Excuse me. Another thing, this is Bryn's, expertise. This is why I absolutely need her as my sidekick, because she is quite the expert on the artificial intelligence end of things. I know we'll talk about what that is in case you're not aware, but there are tools that you can use it to help you read aloud and to help with reading comprehension. So we'll share some of those, and we're even going to demo some of those for you all so you can actually see how it works. And then AI can also be used just to help you work on your confidence and your independence. So we will talk about some of those as well. So a lot of you here, I believe, probably have aphasia. Maybe you know somebody who has aphasia, or maybe you work with somebody who has aphasia. But as you know, some of the reading challenges that can occur is maybe reading is just slower than it used to be, right? It's also possible that you actually misperceive certain letters or words. You might read a word wrong for that reason. A lot of times we rely on word by word decoding. So if normal reading, if you haven't had a stroke or brain injury and have aphasia, we kind of plan ahead and we're scanning ahead and reading and it's fluent, right? But sometimes we have to read word by word when we have aphasia, and especially if the sentence is a little bit longer and more complex. A lot of times when we have aphasia too, our semantic system and our syntactic system are impaired. And that makes it hard sometimes to interpret content, the material that we're reading. So, just so you guys know, semantics is just kind of a fancy word for the meanings of our words. So, a pet that's an animal that has fur and four legs, that's our semantics for a dog. Okay. And syntax is just kind of a fancy word for grammar. Okay. The way our sentences are constructed. So sometimes impairments in those areas can make it hard for us to interpret our text that we're reading. And then it's not uncommon to have impaired short-term memory. So it's hard to hang on to the information. Maybe you've started reading something. I hear this a lot from my patients. You start reading and then you get to a certain part and you're like, I have no idea what I just read. You know, and I mean, I think we all do that a little bit. And we're going to talk about how attention plays a big role in reading as well. So if that's happening and you're having to go back and reread, you know, it's hard to establish that overall topic and you kind of lose way halfway through. So these are just some of the things that actually can happen when you have aphasia in terms of your reading challenges. I just wanted to take a second. I'm sure a lot of you know this, but I think it's really important for us to differentiate between reading out loud and reading to understand, because they are two very different things. You can have somebody who's able to read out loud, but then they have no idea what they just read. They had a hard time understanding the content. On the flip side, you can also have somebody who is able to read silently, but they can't say the words out loud. And so again, these are two very different processes and they should be treated as such. So I think it's important, even as a speech pathologist, to make sure that when we're talking about goals with our patients and they say, well, I want to work on reading, I think we want to make sure that we understand truly what that means. You know, do you want to work on reading out loud to your grandkid? Or are you working more on wanting to be able to read a novel and understand what you read? And perhaps it's both. But I think we need to treat those as two different things. We need to assess them differently. And again, focus our treatment because it's a very different process. Okay, so for the next part, we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, how we can actually improve our reading. Right? So there's tasks that we can do. You know, if you're in therapy or if you're a speech pathologist, you know there's things that we work on to actually improve those reading skills. Our goal is to address that underlying deficit, rebuild those connections, and make reading better. On the other hand, there's things that we can do to support our reading. Now, these are used to more supplement what you're able to do in terms of your reading skills and to help sort of build off those strengths, but again, to sort of support you and help you out. I have a lot of trouble reading a huge text, so here's something you can do to make it easier. So we're going to first kind of talk about some of those tasks that I use and that I really like. And these are just a small handful of things that you can do and just some suggestions. But these are good to actually work on improving one's reading ability. And just so you know, the technology piece here, I know our focus is on technology and reading. And the second portion of our talk today is really heavily focused on that. But you can create these tasks very easily through PowerPoint or Google Slides, whatever you might use, if you're somewhat tech savvy with that. And I'm going to show you an example of them as well. So The first task we're going to talk about is called gradual reading, and I actually can't take credit for this. This was a task that I learned through one of my old mentors, Bill Connors, and I still carry that with me. So I am going to share that with you. There's an attention-based reading task that I'm going to show you, and all of these can be sort of personalized and made for tailored to what your goals are and your personal interests are. I'm going to show you how you can use compound words to help with reading, and then just how you can use a simple reading summarization task. So let's start with the gradual reading. So this is a task that can be done either at the word level or more at the sentence level. And I'm going to show you what both look like. But again, I want to make it clear that reading is very attention based. And you guys, you individuals who have aphasia may have noticed that since your stroke or since your brain injury, since you've had aphasia, it's hard for you to focus. You get distracted really easily. Okay? That may ring a bell for some of you. And that's typical. That is expected. Attention is absolutely impacted, I think, when you have aphasia. So reading is often impacted as well. So this task was designed to kind of help you focus and sort of retrain your brain to attend to the words and focus in so that you're able to read more sentence level material. So it's very much a visual attention task. And you'll notice that there's some redundancy. You're repeating portions of what you're reading in this task, and that too can be very helpful when you're reading. You guys might notice when you start to read a sentence, you struggle through it. You go to read it again, and it starts to get a little easier, right? It's all that repetition, that redundancy. So let's take a look at this. So again, you can make this through a PowerPoint so that it is gradually, shown one word at a time. Excuse me. Or you could even do this on note cards. If you are not a technology person or PowerPoint person, do this on note cards, and that's totally fine. But the goal is only showing one word at a time. So I have one word here, right? And you have them read it out loud. Ice. Then we show the next word. But the key is you have to always go back to the beginning. You are focusing and redirecting your attention back to the beginning. So now we say ice cream. And even if you say, go back to the beginning, make sure that first word is ice, you'll be surprised how hard it is when that cream pops up. You want to say cream. So that's the whole point of this, really attending to that first word. And then ice cream cone. Why not start off our Saturday with a little treat, right? So and I don't know, guys, if tripounds is an actual word. I may have made that up. I don't know. But compound words are those 2-part words, right? Tripounds there's a lot of 3-part words out there. It's kind of fun to think about them and come up with them. So that's one way you can use this task. And again, you can do it with a variety of words. If you want to then have the person hang on to that word and do a task after where they're coming up with a sentence using it, you take it away. Or I do a task too, not to get too off path here, but where I give the individual, this is more of an auditory task, give them the word scrambled. So they're not looking at the word, and I say cream, cone, ice, and they have to figure out what that word was. Oh yeah, ice cream cone. So that's more of an auditory working memory task, but just another little idea for you if you're a speech pathologist or if you want to play around with it yourself as someone with aphasia. So here's an example of how you can use this. I think newspaper headlines are really a good resource to use when you're trying to improve your reading, because it's that in between. If you're kind of beyond that word level, but you're not quite at that paragraph level. So it's the same idea. Now here I shared 2 words at a time. You could share just one. You can kind of feel out how it works for you, but it's the same idea. So they read Costco O's. You introduce two more words, but they start back at the beginning. Costco owes more than, Costco owes more than $19 million, etc. Okay, so again, always going back to the beginning. I don't know if this was real or not. I may have made it up, but it could have been something that actually happened, but don't hate Costco. It could be made up. Um, so that's how you can use that. And again, you can use whatever material you want. It could be newspaper headlines, it could just be a sentence about somebody in your family, whatever it is. So that's the gradual reading task. The next task I want to talk about is, it's nothing, I don't call it anything fancy. I just call it an attention-based reading task. So what I like about this is it hits a couple different skills at one time. So we're working on reading. We are working on processing what we're reading. There's absolutely a memory component, and you'll see how here in a second. Of course, attention is involved because we're reading, but there's also a visual attention piece. And then following instructions is something that's sort of incorporated into this too. And I know a lot of times that's something that we work on. And it's not so much the following instruction part, it's about being able to hang on to that information long enough to actually perform the task we need to do. So again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I just think it's so important for us to make sure that we are tailoring our tasks to you individuals who have aphasia, right? It has to be meaningful. It has to be personally relevant. So you can get creative with this and use words that are important to you. So you'll see here what we're doing. So again, I do these on PowerPoints, but technically you can, get creative and do it however you wish, but it's not a hard PowerPoint to make. It's basically just words. So here's the instruction. Now, you can have the person read it out loud, or you can just have them read it silently. It's up to you and sort of what the goals are and what you're working on and what the person's able to do. Now, this is more of a advanced task here. You can absolutely simplify it. So they, read maybe out loud. Draw two vertical lines to the right of the red 89. And then you show them this, right? So now they're having to hang on to those instructions and perform the task. This is hard. And then I get extra tricky and I put in 289s maybe. I didn't in this one, and there's colors involved. There's spatial directions to the right of. All of that stuff is so challenging. So again, you may not want to hit all of that at once, but perhaps target one thing at a time. Maybe just start with the words themselves. Keep all the colors the same, and just have it be very basic. Circle the 89. It can be as simple as that. But the more you make the stimuli, the words, similar, the harder it's going to be. And again, visual attention is built right in because they are having to scan and identify the target that they're looking for. Here's another one that I know it's not uncommon for you to maybe have trouble with saying the days of the week or the months of the year or what have you. So here's another example. Circle Sunday, underline Thursday. And I kept these the same color just to kind of show you. Okay? So you can make it how you want, but it's just kind of a neat task for someone with aphasia to kind of work on a lot of things in one sitting. And the last one is a little bit more complex. So again, this time I put in a color and two instructions. So circle the green Tuesday, put a box below the red Friday. Sorry, my video is covering up that word. And there's another example. Okay, so a lot of different ways we can do this task. Okay, on to the next task. So compound words are great to work on starting to build. If you're kind of starting to become pretty good at reading those single words, then you can add compound words into it. And what I want to make clear is we also have to consider not just the number of words that we're working on, but the number of syllables. So, for example, like a compound word, oatmeal, where each word is one syllable, oatmeal. That's going to be easier than a word that's blueberry, because that ultimately has 3 syllables, right? So we also have to take that into consideration and know that the more syllables makes the task a little bit more challenging. So again, compound words are great to start kind of branching out and building off of those single word skills. You can do this task by keeping the first word the same, like I have here with, waterfall, watermelon, and watercolor. Okay. Or you can keep the second word the same and um, work from there. So baseball, eyeball, hairball. Okay. So I'll show you if this is, again, a very basic task, but you just read the 2 words, bird house, and then you want to make sure a nice goal to work on in terms of fluency is to make sure that they're saying it as sort of a unit, right? We don't say bird house, we say birdhouse. So you might read it a little slower initially, but then you want to aim to try to get it into that chunk. And then you go on to the next one. Now, if you're an individual who kind of gets stuck on the last thing you just said, sometimes that can happen. This may be a tricky task for you, but it also might be a good one for you to really get yourself to control. You now just have to change that one word. Second word stays the same, so there's your redundancy piece, but you're just changing that first word. Okay? And then you go ahead and just read through these and practice saying them. And then once you're done, you can always try to sort of, again, work on that word recall and re-elicit them. So you can ask the person with aphasia, so what's the name of the house where a bird might live? Birdhouse. Okay, so again, then you're getting them to sort of pull those words out from their memory. So very basic task. And the last one that I wanted to chat about is just reading some material and summarizing it. So this task can work on reading out loud. You can have them read silently, and it still certainly addresses whether you're reading out loud or reading silently. You are absolutely still working on reading comprehension. And then the piece where they have to summarize requires them to organize their thoughts in their head and formulate a sentence. So that's a really good skill to work on as well. And again, here I go, but you can absolutely personalize this task and incorporate things that are important to that person with aphasia, things they want to work on. So I'll show you just a couple examples of this. So for this one, we were targeting numbers. I know probably some of you can relate. Numbers are tricky for people with aphasia. They can be. Saying them, processing them across the board. So you have the person read. Again, they can read out loud. They can read silently. A personal preference for me is if my patient with aphasia is able to read aloud, or at least at some level, I have them do that, because reading out loud is such an important skill, and it really hones in on that letter to sound connection. Reading out loud is a great task to do, very tangible task to work on your own at any time. So you have them read it, and then the goal is for them to summarize that information into one sentence. So here's where you're kind of pulling all that information together and working on your sentence formulation. Now, this task can be done a couple different ways. You can hide the visual support. So maybe you want your person with aphasia, maybe this is kind of easy. So then guess what you do? You take this away. Then it becomes a different task. Another thing you can do is, depending on what their goals are, they can summarize by telling you that sentence, or maybe you're working on writing. So maybe they want to write that sentence. Okay. If you're not working on reading, you can have the person listen to those 3 sentences. You read to them, they're listening, and then they summarize. So this task can be done working on a lot of different modalities. But since this is a reading talk, I wanted to make sure to mention that. So here's another one where we were targeting more multisyllabic words. So those words that have a couple different syllables, those can be tricky for people with aphasia and apraxia. So this same idea, and then they go ahead and summarize into one. There are times too where I might put in a 4th sentence, and it's more of a distraction. Okay. I make it somewhat related, perhaps, to the content, but it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the sentences. And so that is meant to, again, work on that attention piece, being able to eliminate that one that doesn't belong, and then still being able to summarize. So that's a way to kind of make it a little bit trickier. They have to, again, understand the content and make sure that they know which piece to eliminate. Okay, so that kind of covers those reading tasks where we're trying to actually improve reading, making those reading skills better. Now I want to talk about things that you guys can do to support reading to make it a little bit easier for you. Okay? So I know a lot of you have heard the word aphasia friendly, making things aphasia friendly. Well, what does that mean? And I think you might hear something different depending on who you're talking to, but we're going to talk about things that can support reading comprehension. So, and some of this, I know might seem so obvious, but some maybe you hadn't thought of. And these little changes can really make a big difference, especially if you're somebody who's gone back to work and you're struggling in the environment that you used to be able to work in. Put some of these suggestions at the end of your email signature. I've had people do this. And then that way people know, okay, when I email so-and-so, I'll make sure I use simple words and bullet the information and so on. So using simple words and vocabulary. Here's an example of a sentence that's a little bit more aphasia friendly. She was happy when she saw her friend, versus she experienced immense elation upon glimpsing her longtime companion. All right, so that second sentence might be a little more challenging. Let's keep it simple, okay? It can make a big difference. The next one is just simplifying sentence structure. So again, that syntax piece plays a big role, and the complexity of it. So she loves books versus, because she has always been fascinated by stories, she spends most of her free time reading books from different genres. Again, people with aphasia may have trouble hanging on to a lot of information at once. So halfway through that sentence, forget it. They forgot the first part and they're trying to process the second part, and it just gets all jumbled. So that's something that's really important. Another thing is using pictures, using emojis, using drawings to help sort of support the content that they're trying to read. So here's an example of a sentence, the sun was very hot today, so we swam in the ocean to cool off. a lot of the main content words were replaced with little icons. That can be helpful for someone with aphasia. So just making some of these little adjustments can really help. Excuse me. So using larger text and actually font, and we'll talk about actually what fonts are good, make a difference. So again, it's just something that we should consider. You know, this first sentence where the letters are quite large and clear is a lot easier for somebody with aphasia to read versus the second. Sometimes you may have trouble with capital letters versus lowercase letters, reading them. Sometimes capital letters are easier. Sometimes lowercase letters might be easier. Maybe you're okay with both, but that's something to consider. And especially if you're somebody who uses a device to help you communicate, you may want to consider that when you have those words accompanying the pictures on your buttons. Maybe using all caps might be an easier way for them to find what they're trying to communicate. So these are some important things just to consider. Okay. So another thing that can be really helpful is using a headline or identifying like the main category before you go into the content. So instead of just having a big paragraph, kind of dividing it up and making headlines so that the person with aphasia knows. I mean, I think we all have an easier time reading something like this, but having sort of the topic identified right up front, it kind of helps them plan for what's going to be in that material. So that's another thing that can be really helpful. Okay, here's another thing, and just so you guys know, Bryn and I have a lot of like screenshots, especially in the second half of this talk, that you can reference. I think Denise is going to post our PowerPoint on their resource page after today's talk. So we are happy to share our PowerPoint so that you have it as a reference and you can go back and find some of these screenshots in case you're not able to follow today. But I'm going to actually show you, I will walk you through on my phone here in a second how you do this. A lot of us are reading on our phones. We're pulling up, news articles or recipes or whatever, and you can actually reduce the clutter and the distractions from websites, making it a lot easier for you to read. So let me show you how to do that. I am going to share my phone here in a second. Okay, so let me share. Now, the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have your settings correct. Now, I apologize for those who have Androids. The process might be a little bit different. I have an iPhone, so I know that this applies to an iPhone. But we have a lot of Android references, resources up on the NAA website as well. Okay, so let me show you. So the first thing you need to do is go into your settings, okay? And when you scroll down, you want to find your Safari or whatever internet browser you use. So of course that's going to be down here. Whoops. Okay, so Safari, okay? And then you scroll down and you're going to find Reader. So right here, okay, Reader is where you need to select. And you want to make sure that this is turned on, like mine is, for all websites. And then you'll be able to use what I'm about to show you. Okay, so then what happens is when you go to a website and you click, so the top left, let me see if I can multitask here. I'm going to circle with my, so right here, okay, is where I'm going to click. And then it says show reader. So when I do that, it simplifies. You can see already the top part that disappeared. So it removes all that junk. Again, heck, I should be using this more. I don't know why I don't. Okay, but it makes it a lot easier. I'll show you another before and after so you guys can kind of see. But this can really be helpful to sort of eliminate some of that extra stuff that, again, if we have attention problems and it's distracting us, it may be, making it harder for us to understand what we're reading. So here's just an example. This was the same website, but you guys can see all those ads, all those videos that are popping up. When you do the reader piece, you'll see the difference in the next little scroll through. So it's kind of, I feel like it's a pretty big difference. Yeah. So cool, huh? Just a little switch, and just a quick little plug too for those who have, iPhones. And again, it's available on a lot of other Androids and what have you. Play around with your accessibility feature. I know some of you here, I saw some familiar faces who go to our technology and supports group. We've covered a lot of things that your phone can do or you can use on your phone to help you. And it is crazy what you're able to do and how much independence you can gain just from changing some features on your phone. So take a look at that. I encourage you to explore that a bit. I wanted to just show this too. This is a little bit different, but if you like to cook, I do, and I end up pulling up like recipes on Pinterest. And you know how you have to scroll through like thousands of things to finally get to the bottom? I know they have that jump to recipe button, but I still feel like there's all this stuff that comes up. So my brother actually showed me this. This website, and again, this is why I wanted to post our PowerPoint. If you go to this website, and then when you find the recipe you want, let's say strawberry cheesecake, you can tell I like my sweets. You copy the website, so this here, okay, and you paste it into that website's. I'll show you. Hold on. Right here is where you paste it, okay, and then you just hit that create button, and check this out. Okay, so it goes from this. See all that pop-up stuff to just a simple recipe, right? And now you can print it. Just, again, makes it a lot easier if you're somebody who likes to cook. All right. Couple more reading supports. So another thing that we can do to make our text a little bit more aphasia friendly is to bold those important words. So or underline them. So if you're sending an email to somebody with aphasia, maybe bold and underline that appointment date and time. Just that, helping that to kind of stand out can be really helpful. You can kind of see the difference here too, from the first one versus the second. It's probably a little bit easier to process that second one because some of those main details are bolded. Another thing, this is one that maybe we don't think of. I don't know how often we're really writing out numbers, but in text, if the numbers are like written out and spelled out, it is harder for somebody with aphasia to understand. So using the actual numbers, or even maybe having both, the number one and the spelling is fine, but using that actual number is a little bit more helpful. So I wanted to just quick share a study that was done by researchers in Australia. So they actually looked at and asked 40 people with aphasia, what is easiest for you to be able to read? Okay, so these are coming from the experts, the people with aphasia. Larger font, so like a 14-point font, and specifically the fonts Arial and Verdana, were easier for people to understand. Line spacing. So having no spacing was tricky. Having 1.5 spacing was actually easier than if it was double spaced. Okay, which I thought was kind of interesting. And it was hardest to read the single line reading and if it was too far spaced out. So you don't want huge spaces in between. Um, and then this I think is really important for us too as speech pathologists to consider. They really preferred actual photographs rather than like, clip art or pictographic representations. They kind of felt a lot of times they were sort of childish or offensive. I think we need to think about this as, we as a profession sometimes tend to, give AAC devices to help our people with aphasia communicate. And there's so many ways now that you can pull actual pictures from the web and use real pictures, a real banana, not that weird little yellow scribbly, right? So I think that makes a big difference and maybe is a motivating factor for them to actually use the device. So just some things to consider. Okay, so just to kind of sum some of this up, why should you even work on reading if you're somebody who has aphasia? It does help to rebuild your language network, right? I mean, you're working with those words that you're having trouble coming up with. Reading helps with talking. Reading helps with writing. Reading helps with processing. It all goes together, and vice versa. I mentioned this before, but reading out loud, if there is one task that you do to practice and you're able to read out loud a bit, do that. Take, 10 minutes a day and read out loud. Read to your dog, whatever. If you have grandkids or kids, perfect. It really helps with speech production and that word recognition piece. And again, you're working on that letter to sound connection, which is sometimes lost when you have aphasia or impaired, I should say. And then obviously, reading is important for comprehension, memory, attention, and language processing. So there's a lot of things we're hitting when we're reading. Okay, so let's get into just a couple more of the technology-based supports that are out there. So we have a lot of you probably have maybe played around with some text-to-speech apps. And we'll share what some of those are. Audiobooks are really important. And again, I'm sure many of you are probably already taking advantage of that. You can get those through your library. If you're not aware of TalkPath News, it's a great app that simplifies current news, like real news articles, and highlights the material as it reads it out loud. You also have the option to turn off that reading out loud. But it sort of simplifies it, and there's comprehension questions at the end to see if you understood what you read. And then I think we kind of forget that these map apps that are out there now are so helpful. I mean, I remember I used to print out my MapQuest directions on a piece of paper and was reading them as I was driving. But I feel like that was before the technology was there. Probably not safe. But we don't have to read anymore because these devices tell us that there's a cop ahead. Do you guys, I don't know if anybody uses Waze, but I highly recommend it if you're somebody like me who puts the pedal to the metal a little bit too fast sometimes and needs a police to know if there's a police officer ahead. So you should check that one out. But I think those are really great. This is more, again, for you to reference for later. But on your phone, there is text to speech built right in. You don't need a special app. You don't need anything fancy. It's a matter of going to that accessibility settings page and accessing the different features that are available. These are just some of the things that you can do to help have your phone basically read the text. I wanted to mention these aphasia readers. Bryn, you've used these, right? I'm going to have you chime in here.
Yes, I really like it a lot. And
Yeah, so they were created by a young stroke survivor, and his wife, Ryan and Anna Teal, and they kind of were getting tired, I think, of using, children's books. They needed something simple. We weren't ready to read a novel, but didn't want to be reading Cat in the Hat. So they created these, and they are meant to help you, rebuild your reading skills. You can work on reading out loud, or reading silently, but there's different levels that are available. And what's really cool is part of the proceeds go back into supporting aphasia awareness, which is really neat. Bryn, was there something else you wanted to say about those?
Awesome because some people have one hand after stroke, is how that helps. So like it's hard to use to open it like a reading or something. It's hard because it's too hard. But then yeah, and then also they also on their website for you put on their refrigerator, they have like a million things asked, like things about what is this called? Brooke. Like I can't.
Yeah, they have like a toolbox on their website, and there's a bunch of lists of like functional phrases, and they're all different categories, right? Like there's like something you would say at Christmas time. So there's a bunch of phrases you can practice reading and saying, and they had suggested putting them on your fridge.
Yeah, and then those are free too. And then I talked to her a while ago, and I was like, I love everything about this whole thing, but I wish they could read it out loud. But you just like picture on your phone, and then I'll show you about in a second. But so she said, yeah, just picture, and then they'll say it on your phone. So
Yeah, so Bryn is going to show you how you can use something like this. If you guys have a reading material, reading resource that you use to practice, how you can combine that with technology and have it support you. Because there's like leapfrog books out there for kids, and if you put the pen to the words, it reads it. So it's the same kind of idea, and we'll show you how to do that. I don't want to get too far off track here. All right, yeah, thanks, Bryn. I just wanted to mention too that we have on our website a lot of stuff laid out regarding reading and writing supports. So feel free to check that out. And there's a lot of the stuff about phones and how you can change your settings to help sort of support you with both reading and writing. Okay, now we're going to get into the good stuff. So, artificial intelligence, again, I feel like it's something that you've probably heard of. There's a lot of it going around right now. So, what the heck is this stuff? It is technology, and it's very human-like, but it's not. But it can understand our language, it responds, it generates, things that seem like it's coming from a real person. So you may be using AI and maybe don't even know it. If you are using speech to text, text to speech apps, that is a form of AI. Chat GPT, you're going to hear us talk a lot about this app. It has become Bryn's best friend, I feel. And it's huge. Guys, it's a game changer. So I know AI can be kind of scary and overwhelming, and we'll talk about some of those things that you can do to protect yourselves from a privacy standpoint. But we really encourage you to play around with this and check this stuff out. So, these are just a couple of the things that we're going to talk about how you can use AI to help you read out loud and to also help with reading comprehension. So if we're reading out loud, it can do the text to speech stuff. We'll talk about that in a second. You can work on echo reading, reading along with them, after them, not with. It's echo, so after. If you have trouble with those multisyllabic words, it can help you with syllable support. and then it can also help you with sentence completions, and there's a role playing activity. So we'll show you all of this here, and Bryn's going to actually demo some of it. So Bryn, what's your favorite text to speech app?
I like Chat GPT.
You said it perfectly.
I'm gonna try it. Yeah, and I like uh, um, reading. Hang on, the third one. Uh,
Natural reader.
and my phone too. Um, those are free. Um, so the other ones are more expensive, but you can try it for a week, I think. You just try all of them to see, and then make sure if you don't like it, then it's gonna it's gonna
Keep
be
charging you.
yeah. So you have to remember to in week or something.
So it was funny, and you guys will get a feel for how we actually did this, but in our technology and supports group, Bryn always says Chat GPT, and she's like, I can never say it. And we asked Chat GPT to help her say Chat GPT, and it broke it down for her. And
Now
it was just,
say it.
and look, she said it perfectly
A
today.
little better. A little
So there
better.
you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the natural reader app that you use, Bryn. And it just kind of shows how it can, highlight material and it reads it out loud, right?
Yeah, so it was just like a on the point of four. So, but then you could just put it on your phone, just picture, and then put it on uh, and they'll do it. So you can already do on your phone already, or you can like a actual a book too. So anything will work. Um, so.
Perfect. So, and just so you guys have the actual screenshots for how you can turn on your text to speech setting on your phones. And then this one shows some of the other things you can do and how you can personalize it based on sort of what you need. Um, Bryn, do you want to show how you can use the text to speech and what it, how it actually works?
Which one?
Well, you pick.
Okay. So we're doing here.
I'll stop sharing.
Okay. So we can do like so I'm gonna say what we're doing first. So if I want to just like read it, okay, I'll do it like 5 minutes ago. I said, let's see, hang on, sorry.
So she's in the Chat GPT app. This is what it looks like, but she has things like saved. This is what she's going through because she uses it pretty often.
Yeah, so you can just like okay. Hang on, I'm sorry. I like made a, so right now, if you want to first, okay, here, I put on it here. 1 second.
You're fine.
Um, I'll say, so you want to do just how, let's go back, Bryn. Bryn, you got it. Okay. So,
Good pep talk.
I got it. I had it right here. It's because I know you got her waiting.
Yeah, but don't put pressure on yourself. They're okay waiting. You're fine.
Um, we'll do.
Most of us know how to take our time. It
That's
takes us a
right.
little bit
Yeah,
longer.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the slower you go to do it, the slower we understand it better.
That's right. And these are patient humans here with us.
Yeah, I even make it so I knew what to say first. Okay, so first, so I actually put on that really good, this readers. You see?
So those
Okay,
are the aphasia readers. Yep.
so I asked, can you show me? And so it'll read it. And the way that they talk, first of all, say, read it. And then they'll say it. And then I'll say, how do you say it right? And so then at the end, it'll say,
Yes, that's a great start. You said, hello, I want you to ask for a drink. If you're trying to order a drink for yourself, here's a smoother way to say it. Hello, I would like a drink. Or,
and there's other things like, if you want to say, I'll say, let's see, if you saw a whole sentence like this, so I can't read, so they'll say, do the first, they'll start reading, and then you can do it slower.
great. Let's turn this apartments read aloud activity into an echo reading with AA exercise. Here's how it works. Echo reading, apartments instructions. 1, listen to the sentence. I'll read it aloud here. 2, repeat the sentence out loud after me. Take your time.
Like, these are good.
Great. Let's turn this.
Hang on, sorry. But I like the other, I'm gonna go the other ones. Because this will do it too. I like this too. Because it's not AI or anything. It just, instead, it just,
Yeah, so this is the natural reader. Yeah, this is the one. Yep.
yeah. So,
So that's a picture that you took of content, right?
yep. So
Okay.
I can show you how to do that. I could just say, you put another one, and you could just do, like, okay, so here this, and then,
Just how you add a picture, if you're sending a text, it's a kind of a similar concept. Yeah.
and then I'll come, and and you can go slow or fast.
Is it playing, Bryn?
Oh, what would you like to drink?
Okay, got it. So again, if that book doesn't come with an audio portion, but you can use this very simply to help you say it and help you practice saying it.
and you can make it really,
Slow. Yep. You can select the different speeds.
yeah. So I like this. And then you can see when they said it, like you can see where it happened. They were like that. You can see it, which one they're talking about. Yeah.
That's good. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So she kind of was showing you too what we're the next part, where we talk about the echo reading.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, you're fine. You're
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. So, and that's, just where the AI software reads a sentence, then you repeat it out loud. And you can work on fluency, you can work on accuracy of the words. You can use any of these apps to do that. And again, Bryn kind of just showed you how it works. Now, I didn't realize this because, again, sometimes I have so many challenges with technology that I'm not sure how I help with a group that's titled technology, but Bryn is my expert and she helps me. So I learned that it actually can give you feedback, right, Bryn? So it'll tell you like if it's correct or not. So it's not just you practicing and not knowing or being aware of, hey, did I get that right? Did I not? Because sometimes when we have aphasia, we don't know. It'll give you feedback too. Right? So Bryn,
It's so cool. Yeah. Yeah.
no,
Yeah. It's weird, but cool.
it is
Yeah.
kind of weird.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, these are just some examples of, how that works. Okay. So this is just a kind of a screenshot for you to see. So again, she, just so you know, when you use that chat GPT, because I feel like the questions in our other group are always like, well, how do you even like get this thing? It is an app in the App Store and it's free with a certain amount of use. If you use it as much as Bryn, you have to pay for it, but she uses it a lot. So again, go with that free version and see how much you can get out of it. But it's basically just a search engine. And so she types in echo reading with AI, sends the material that she wants to do that task with, takes the picture, sends it, and writes that. And then there you go. It's all set up. And then it gives the sentence. So this is what she read. Bryn said this. It corrected it. And then look, it even breaks it down for you.
I don't see it.
You don't see the PowerPoint where I'm circling
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
Oh. Does everybody else see it? Yeah? Okay.
Okay.
Bryn? Maybe you're having maybe what do you see?
I'm good.
Okay, you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. But it'll break it down. And again, it's kind of like, listen, I don't want this stuff to replace us as speech pathologists. I don't think it should, but I think it's a great supplement. Um, you guys are always wanting to like, how else can I work on things? What apps are out there? These are all very tangible things that are no money or very minimal amounts of money that can help you out.
I like that too because sometimes I I can read what like what it says, but if I want to really say every single page, not just like, and then he'll say you didn't say this, and I like that a lot because uh yeah, because then somebody can help me, so I don't have to ask all the time. It's kind of nice.
Hmm. I would imagine too, if you're ever doing like a presentation as somebody with aphasia or, having to share something in a meeting at work or, something a little bit more formal, that this would be a really great way to practice what you have to say, because that reading part can be challenging. So again, this is just showing that same content, right, Bryn, that you had used for that you were just showing us. And again, it kind of says, okay, go ahead and listen. This is what you're going to say. And then you go ahead and say it. I think the important thing is making sure that you're not just repeating it, but that you're reading as you're saying it and looking at the words as you're listening. That feedback is really good. So that's another thing. If you guys are using audiobooks and listening to your books, that's great. If it's possible for you to also have the reading material, I highly recommend you following along with the written material while you're listening. It's a lot more therapeutic because you're seeing the words, you're hearing the words, and it kind of allows for more input and can actually really help. So just something to think about. Okay, let's talk syllables. This is Bryn's favorite.
Yeah, so nice for me. Like,
Yeah. So, you know, words that are longer, that have more syllables can be hard when you have aphasia. They're almost always hard when you have apraxia in addition to the aphasia. So, um, Bryn puts this prompt or just says, we tested this out, right, Bryn? We
yeah,
just put in aphasia and syllable. So again, sometimes you guys might be like, well, I can't say the prompt or I can't write the prompt. It can be pretty simple. And once ChatGPT gets to know you, it starts to sort of predict and has a sense of what you've searched in the past or what you've requested in the past. Like Bryn always puts the word aphasia when she puts things in, so it will tailor it to her. And now it kind of knows, like, oh, yeah, this individual has aphasia. So kind of cool. But you can put in a simple prompt, and then the um, the AI will help actually chunk the material into syllables. Okay. So this is a sentence, celebrate your progress today. And you can see how it broke apart. Celebrate your progress today. So then you can practice reading out loud, right?
And then I would do that, and then this I always cannot say this right, so they'll say it, and then I'll make a PowerPoint or like a make some I remember where I what thing that I could make a PowerPoint or just the little flash cards so you remember which one you need or like on your phone. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's such a good call because I think you guys all have those like words that just give you trouble. Like, Bryn, wasn't one of your words avocado? Remember how much we had trouble with that,
Yeah,
right? And so,
avocado.
yeah, she's got it now. But again, if there's
You
like
did
a
it.
word that gives you trouble, you can have this software help you break it down. But then, like Bryn's saying, with that broken down, now that you see it visually, you can then make it a flashcard. Bryn uses Quizlet, which is a great app to make flashcards that are visual and auditory. You should check out that app if you haven't. But she uses that for practice a lot. Do you want to show them, Bryn, how this works?
Which one?
The syllable.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
want to do that one?
Actually, let me see. I have, yeah,
Okay.
that one.
And then we go into sentence completion. All right, I'm going to stop sharing.
Hang on, I'm gonna do the. Hang on. I have to say it again. Okay. I have a whole nother Aphasia things. Oh, can you see it?
Yep, we can see it.
Oh, all right. So I have like, let's see.
So this is, Bryn, this is a folder.
Yes, I put Praxia. So,
Okay.
because I use this like everything on this, so I had to put other stuff too because I can't find it, So I
Right.
have,
So you can organize all the stuff that you end up finding too on this
yeah.
app. This is Chat GPT.
So let's see. Um, Sometimes I have to feel like a million, somewhere. So I gotta find the good ones. But let's see. Some I'll say sometimes they'll. I'm sorry, I didn't know if I thought that.
You're okay. It looked like there were some right there, no?
Which one? There's a bunch.
The longer words. I'm sorry, I know that wasn't very specific.
This one.
Yeah. Or you can just, yeah, there you go.
So I thought it was like the way the
I can keep going, Bryn, if you want to work on pulling something up. You want to do that? Is that better? Okay.
yeah.
All right. We'll continue to talk about some of the other things we can do, and then Bryn can demo. Um, excuse me. Um, so you can also do, some of you maybe have worked on this in therapy, But a common task is like filling in that last word of a sentence. So you can create these or ask ChatGPT to create these. This is the prompt you can use. Give me some sentences with the last word missing. And again, practice reading it and filling it in. I actually like this better than when, sometimes we as speech pathologists say, oh, I like to drink hot, and then you say coffee. I don't love that task because I think then you're only saying coffee when you want to be talking in a complete sentence. And so I like that when you're reading it, you should be reading it from the beginning. So even if you're doing that task, make sure you always start from the beginning because that's a more natural way for us to communicate. We don't talk by just labeling the end of our sentence, that last word. We need to start from the beginning. So I like that this is sort of a reading test that lets you do that. Here's another example. So, I brush my teeth with and again, you're supposed to be saying that, reading it, and completing it. So, what's neat too, another thing that ChatGPT does is it allows you to, that's not the right word. It provides suggestions after it does the task you want it to do. There's always like a follow up, like, hey, do you now want me to do this? So here you can see, do you want me to add multiple choice answers? Do you want me to focus on a specific theme? Maybe you want this focused on work related terms because you're trying to get back to work. And again, or you could say the full sentences out loud. So there's different ways to adjust it. Again, or if you think of something like, hey, can you do it this way? Ask it. It'll tell you, and it likely will be able to do it. It's crazy. It's like having a personal assistant at all times. Creepy and crazy all at the same time, but really cool. Bryn, did you want to show something? Are you
Yes, well, I have a million on mine, so I'll just right now.
okay? Well, show us a million.
Um, Apraxia, and then let's say a sentence. Here we go. We'll do this. Um, wait, sorry. Do. All right, so like these are, and they'll.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry if you're. We'll see.
So she just put in syllable apraxia and then put the content that she wants it to help her with.
Okay, we know that. Okay. Give me the syllables. The syllables, please. It's because I'm like, it's at the same time. Because I really put on the, okay.
Here, do you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Give the syllable breakdown. Oh, hold on. Go back one more time.
Did you get it?
Give the syllable breakdown. Here you go.
So then,
Yeah. So there you go.
I usually just like, I usually have like just the different one at a time and then they'll say it. So that's what I have like here with I wanted to know how and they have it and the syllables too. So you just usually it's just one at the time. But yeah, but I try to make all these. I was trying to make a PowerPoint so it'll say it and how to actually read it and say it out loud. So that's why it looks different what they're saying. But yeah, so it'll say yeah.
Yeah, and there's times too, a lot of times if you want it to make you flashcards that you can print, you just put flashcards. So again, it's like a constant, like, what do you want from this? Okay. That kind of thing. It's neat.
But
Um,
there's the one that on the hang on, because look, because the if they're um your PowerPoint,
yeah, you want me to pull up the PowerPoint?
yeah, because the other ones are it's because I have it on my
Do you want me to go back
yeah.
here?
Just the your next one more. Yeah, if I will just yeah, there we
Sorry.
go. So if I'll say that and just say sentence the aphasia
This here.
syllables,
Yeah.
it'll say that. It'll read that. So that's all it'll say. Just say aphasia syllables, and that'll do it.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. And then there's an option to practice role playing. So there may be certain situations that, you don't really feel comfortable with. And you can ask probably for a very specific role playing situation. Like, I want to role play with a mechanic because you have to take your car in because your brakes are going bad. So the whatever AI system you're using kind of creates this dialogue, and then you go back and forth. And again, you're reading this. So it says, "Hi, what's your name?" And then it gives you the content, and then you read the next part. "My name is Sam." It reminds me a bit of Bryn, can you get a demo ready for that too?
Yeah.
Whoops. I don't know if you guys have heard of an app, not an app. Sorry, it's just a program. It's called Speakable. But you should look into this because it does this role playing, but you can actually see the person. There's basically an AI avatar that you can have a conversation with and go back and forth with a variety of different situations. And you can actually set up your own situation. There's like preset ones, but then you can also create your own. It's a really neat program. And if you're just somebody who wants to sort of practice that back and forth in the comfort of your own home before you put yourself out there, it's a great option. So check that out. We didn't cover that because it's technically not reading, but it's a really neat program. Bryn, do you want to show the role playing piece?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
So I would just say, we're all praying. We're all praying. Can you see? Mm, hang on. I'm coming.
You're good.
Because I just say hang on. What is it called? All right, here we go. I did more this morning to show you, and then it doesn't shave anymore. So
All right. That's how it always works, right?
amazing. Okay, here we go. So, right there. All right.
So when Bryn has a hard time saying what she wants the prompt to be, she figures out a way to find the text. So you can either type in, or say it, whatever your strength is,
Aphasia.
or do a combination. And she figures it out. So so Jerry, I saw your question pop up. It's not an app. I'm sorry I said that. If you just put in speakable, I'll find the link and I'll put it in the chat box for you. Speakable therapy, that's what it is, I
So
think.
then they'll ask, like,
Or no, it's
say what you're saying, and then you can say, try it again, or do you want to do something about doctor? I'll say doctor, and say remember things to remember, and to remember for when to go to the doctor, and then it'll, does this work? You
yeah,
see? Okay.
yeah, you're good. I'm sorry, I was looking for that software.
Oh, the
To
speak up.
speakable, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I think it's like just down for a second, but it's usually I'll send the it's not working right now, but save this because I'm telling you it does usually work. Yeah, thank you, Kate. Beat me to it. All right. So yeah, you guys can kind of see the role play that Bryn practiced with her doctor, right? So that's another good example of a situation where, it's hard to talk to your doctor and make sure you get in everything you need to tell them so you can kind of practice it, in advance using something like this.
And then I'll put it on your like notes, and then you go to the doctor and say,
Yeah. So then Bryn saves it and she uses the Notes app on her iPhone and then has it as a reference if she needs it.
yeah, I don't have the actual speakable, so I mean, there's other different apps you can do that, but I don't have that, but it'll just show you you could uh do it just to practice, but yeah.
Perfect. All right, Bryn, let's chat about the the things that we can use for comprehension. So guys, those were all kind of like reading out loud. If you're wanting to work more on that processing piece, there's some really neat tools. So you can have Chat GPT or whatever AI software you're using simplify articles. I have been using this a lot and I love it. You get that long text, you copy it, paste it, say simplify this. We'll show in a second. This is really cool. We'll show you what this is. Explain like I'm five mode for more complex material that you want really simplified. There are interactive quizzes, fill in the blank activities, and it will create multiple choice questions. So if you want to make sure, hey, did I actually understand what I read here? And it will create questions. So here's an example. Bryn just said, can you summarize this? And it will simplify and rewrite it at kind of whatever level you want, but I'll show you the summarization here. So again, it did what I had said is an aphasia-friendly suggestion. It kind of identified the main topic and then bulleted the main points within those. This is cool. So here's the content, just so you guys know what you're looking at. So, Bryn, you just put in the search engine, explain like I'm five, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you type in explain like I'm five, and then you share the material. Again, it's whatever it is. You can copy and paste that actual material, or you can send a picture of the material. It will simplify it and basically make it make sense for somebody who would be 5 years old. Okay.
We're not 5 years
Right.
old.
And that's the thing. It was
People do
important.
it all the
Yeah.
time, not if they're like, yeah, it's so.
Right. It's not a condescending thing, but again, it just simplifies it. Um, you know, and makes everything a little bit easier to understand.
My friends told me one time, and I was like, "You just said it like at 5," and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. I like this."
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I don't know, something's like I've never heard of it before.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean, again, something we can all probably use.
yeah,
Um, this is so you can have AI create quizzes for you. So this was on the same content that we just showed. And it's possible too that this just sometimes pops up after you have it simplify it. Then because Bryn has put in aphasia so many times in Chat GPT, it knows her and what she usually requests. And so then it says, okay, do you want me to make an interactive quiz? Or you can request it, either one. But you can see again, there's fill in the blanks based on that content she just read.
and I know it's probably like, why would I do this? But like, okay, say Brooke or speech program or something, and you really like it, but then later you don't go to speech anymore. Remember, like these things that they like, and then try it on GPT, and they will do like that too. And so these are things that you're like, I wouldn't just say it because that's for nothing, but really, if you like things that Brooke talked about today, remember when what she talked about, and then just look if like um yeah, I don't want to talk and talk and talk, but I just, for me, it just things that you really like with speech. Remember, like, oh, this is really awesome. Picture this, and then try it later and see.
Yeah. No, Bryn, I think it is such a tangible way to create and build your own home program. I mean, people are always posting like, I'm not getting speech therapy anymore. What do I do? What are some tasks I can work on? I mean, it's endless, honestly, with this. Once you start to get a feel for what it's capable of and what you can do. Again, I know it can be overwhelming. Like, where do you start? But just put in a prompt and see what comes out, you know? We encourage you to just give it a try. And I think you might become, addicted, perhaps. Okay, so then this is another example. So again, for practice, it's not something that you would do with everything you're reading, but it'll create, excuse me, it'll create comprehension questions about a certain passage that you have read or want to read. So, and as a speech pathologist, I think you guys can see, for those of you here that are speech pathologists, you can see how this is a great tool to help us create materials. We're always trying to come up with them off the top of our head, but this can really help us be a little bit more efficient in that. Um, we already kind of went over this, using AI to help you read other materials. So again, such as the aphasia readers, you can take a picture, send it to AI, and have the two combined so that you get that audio feedback.
Yeah, we talked about it, but just so she knows, these are yours, and I say that's what I use on my phone. I yeah, so
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And just so you guys, Bryn mentioned before too, what's cool about those books is they have that ring binder so that it stays open. Books are hard for you guys to hold when you have that right side weakness. So She loves that aspect of those books. It was another clever thing that they did.
I wish everything is like that.
I know.
Sometimes I want someone to read it on my phone, but it's like one hand, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. Um, so, just some other thoughts on how this AI piece can really help you build some confidence and be more independent. I think you probably already can see that even with that role playing stuff, right? You can practice and practice, and there's nobody judging you. You don't need to put that time pressure on yourself that you do, and makes it that much harder. Um, and I think what's neat too, again, is you can really customize things based on your ability, what you're able to do, based on the type of vocabulary you want. So it's all, I was talking before, making it personally relevant, tailoring it to your patients. Well, AI can help you do that. And then certainly, just the daily, reading routine that's supported by AI, I think can be really helpful and valuable. So just some final little ethical things to consider with AI, as some of you might be concerned, like, well, I've heard, I don't know if it's safe. I think we just need to be smart about what we're using and make sure that there is some sort of privacy policy, and it'll have it on whatever program you're using or website. You might want to look into that and make sure that you understand what their policy is, and just make sure that it's protected. Your data is protected.
I wouldn't say like your phone number
Right.
or anything.
Like,
Just
so yeah, that,
uh, I just see it. It's
yeah,
probably fine, but I would, you know.
right. Like perhaps save practicing your social security number and your phone number with your speech pathologist. Let's not do that with AI. But so just be careful with, yeah, oversharing, and that kind of thing. But I think as long as you're smart about it, it's a really valuable tool. You know, there's some of the tools are very accessible and they're free. Like we said, sometimes there's a free component, and then again, if you want to use it a lot, you do end up having to pay. So those are just all things you might want to consider and look into when you're checking these out. Um, and then, like you guys saw today, you're still somebody who has aphasia and there's challenges communicating, but so you may need somebody to help support you, and help you at least start to play around with these different programs. And that's okay. Do that. Find somebody to help you out so that you can kind of get yourself started and learn the ins and outs of it. And then you maybe become more independent with it yourself. So that's all we have for today. We thank everybody, especially Denise, for inviting us. We are honored to be kicking this awesome event off. Happy National Aphasia Awareness Month to you all, and thanks for everybody for all the amazing things you're doing. But we appreciate Just Ask, inviting us, and what a great program it is. Excited to see the next upcoming Saturday sessions as well.